Hi everyone, Legend of Molly here. Last night we were over at SeaWorld Orlando for their Howl-O-Scream Media Night. Now this is their upcharge haunt attraction, so it's kind of one of those hard ticket events where they close the park after the day and you need a separate ticket to go see all the haunted houses and the shows. I do think it's a pretty solid event they have over there. And let's go show you everything it has to offer, from the haunted houses, the scare zones, the theme bars, the shows, and more. Starting off with the haunted houses, there are 5 different haunted houses this year at Howl-O-Scream, and the new one is Delirium 666 Laboratories. This was my favorite haunted house.
Yes, it was definitely the best haunted house. They definitely have different elements in the haunted house that they don't do in the other 4 houses.
And I think the level of sets and costumes and stuff in there were definitely better than in some of the haunted houses. There's a cool, more or less a pre-show kind of thing with a fake elevator. There's a vortex tunnel at one point. Essentially, you're in like a government laboratory when you see all these like, oh, the government's conspiracy kind of stuff, like kind of like what do you think would happen at Area 51 if Area 51 was filled with evil mermaids.
Agreed. I think it's a little bit too short, but definitely the best house.
Yeah, easily the best house. The next house is Beneath the Ice, The Meltdown. This is in the old Wild Arctic queue and pre-show area. And it's kind of fun because if you've been to go to the park for a while, you could still see like the markings on the floor from where you would stand with the lights. The lights still work in the pre-show area where you used to listen to Captain Norm Snowman Miller. This haunted house is, I'm not really sure the theme. I think you're like in an Arctic outpost and things have gone wrong.
Yeah, it kind of seems like a zombie and like melted ice and heat, and I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, this one, it was definitely a bit weird. At the end, there's 2 ladies just dancing for no reason. I guess maybe they're behind all the chaos and they're celebrating through dance. I'm really not sure what the plot of this one was.
It was definitely a odd house.
Indeed. Next one up was Captain's Revenge. It's a pirate-themed haunted house. It's kind of interesting. This year they took the house and flipped it in reverse. So you enter where you used to exit and you exit where you used to enter. And I don't think this made the house better at all.
No, this was my favorite house last year, and it's definitely not my favorite house this year. And I think it is because of the reverse. It doesn't make sense. You don't enter through the ship. Mm-hmm. I do think they do have the best facade with this house. They do still have the bungee. They have this captain, SpongeBob-looking captain.
Yeah, because he's like in a picture frame like the SpongeBob captain.
Overall, it's a decent house, but I definitely don't understand why they reversed the flow of the house.
Yeah, I think it's trying to make something seem new when it wasn't new. This was one of those houses, too. It felt like it definitely needed more actors in there. There was definitely a bunch of dead spaces. And I think the sets in this one are not great. And that was kind of a running theme with Howl-O-Scream and the haunted houses. The sets were not great. In the laboratories one had pretty decent sets. After you got out of that, it was not as strong. The next house up is right by Infinity Falls, and that is Dead Vines, Nolan's Nightmare, which is... You're in an evil greenhouse?
Yeah, I think it's an evil garden type thing. You had evil plants, evil gardeners there.
Nothing says fear like evil gardeners. This is another one that was just kind of okay. I think this was actually my favorite house last year. Again, not my favorite house this year. And yeah, just kind of okay.
I did like the bush people. They did have very good scares, I think.
Yeah, might have been the one with the best scares out of any of the haunted houses. And the final haunted house at the event is Blood Beckoning. And this haunted house, it's really kind of far off there on its own. This is in an old pizza restaurant over by the Manta Pretzel Loop. And it's all the way at the far corner of the event. The event all of SeaWorld isn't open for the event. So your areas like Journey to Atlantis or over where the manatees are and the dolphins.
Sesame.
Sesame, the main entrance of the park, none of those are open for the event. This haunted house, I think it's definitely the weakest. It's vampires, which I think is like an easy, lazy scare to do, where you just put fangs on somebody and like, oh, they're a vampire now. And it's like, it just didn't make any sense. You're in a vampire library, and then a freezer, and then a campground. And I'd be curious if the freezer wasn't actually theming, and it was just the old freezer from when this place was a pizza restaurant.
It might have been. Yeah, the flow wasn't there in this house, going from one set to the other. Not a great storyline.
No. Overall, I thought the haunted house lineup was just kind of okay. I mean, it's definitely not what you're going to get at Halloween Horror Nights, and I wouldn't be expecting that. But I feel like it's significantly weaker than the haunted houses at Busch Gardens, which is the same company and right down the road. These, I felt for the most part, were much more in line with like haunts you would find at Six Flags.
I think they were lacking scare actors. They need more actors in the houses.
I agree. You had a lot of scare actors like in the scare zones. Like a lot of the scare zones were pretty well manned, but not the houses, which is a bit of a bummer. All right, moving on. Something I did definitely enjoy at this event, and that is the shows. 3 different shows at Howl-O-Scream this year. The big one in the big indoor theater is Monster Stomp.
Definitely go see Monster Stomp. I think the shows are the main highlight of this event. Monster Stomp, yes, it hasn't changed in a while, but it's a really good show with the singing, dancing. Of course, you have stompers.
Yeah, I wish there was more Stomp in Monster Stomp. There's only like one segment, and those guys definitely steal the show. That was really cool. The other show is actually very kind of a creative show, and both shows are exactly the same for every year of Howl-O-Scream since they've been doing this. I think this is year 3, and it's been the same shows each year, their main shows. The other one's Siren Song, kind of a theater in the round show, a big dancing show with the various sirens, and this is done by Wild Arctic, and it's pretty neat. I like that one.
Yeah, they have probably 5 different stages and people are all around.
Yeah.
So you kind of circle around and each dancer does a different thing and there's snow and fire. It's pretty nice.
Yes, what was not nice and which really should not be advertised as a show is the Cursed Lagoon. Now this is in the Pearl area. It was labeled as a new show. And all it is, it's a lady dressed up as a mermaid trying to make you buy the pearls. It's not a show at all.
She was not a mermaid. She was a siren.
Okay. She looked like a mermaid. And it's not a show. It's just they're trying to get you to sell pearls just like they do during the day. Like, this should not be listed as a show. I thought, man, like the show they did last year, like, it can't get any worse than that. Oh, it could. It did. And it happened this year. This is just, it's kind of BS. I didn't, it should not be on the map. It should not be, probably, I mean, have it happen? Sure. But they shouldn't be advertising it as a show with showtimes. And, moving on, we're talking about the scare zones next. There are 7 scare zones at the event, which actually has a lot of scare zones. There's different, there are different levels of quality with a amount of actors and costumes and sets, but there were a lot of them, and they were pretty well attended. Right in the front of the park, you do have the Portal of Passage, and you do enter this event through the Ports of Call area, which is like their private event area. If you're going into the parking lot, it's all the way on the right-hand side, and this is kind of like the welcome zone. You've got the sliders going on. You've got attractive ladies dancing in like body paint and makeup. I guess they're supposed to be demons of some type. There's fire. It's a pretty cool thing to get you started and welcome to the event.
There's stilt walkers too, and I love the sliders. They're my favorite thing in the scare zones.
Yes, over by the old Pet Stadium is an interesting scare zone called the Blood Light District. This is kind of a take on like the Amsterdam Red Light District, except if it's run by like zombies or vampires. Again, scantily clad women and men in here, and it's kind of odd. I mean, if you walk through the red light district in Amsterdam, it's kind of an awkward experience. The scare zone also kind of an awkward experience.
It is pretty much the exact same thing.
Except they're demons.
Yeah.
And you can't pay them to have romance. Up next is a Witchcraft Bayou. This is over by Infinity Falls, and this is essentially kind of like a voodoo witch zone. Good fog, some decent set pieces in this one. And the other one I liked too was over by Terrors of the Deep. That's by the Shark Encounter. And that is, it's just like spooky pirates and lots of fog, lots of cool lighting in this one. I think that one worked pretty well. They
had a lot of scare actors in that zone.
Yes. Something I love about Howl-O-Scream, they do theme bars. Like they have the bars. Normally SeaWorld's got a lot of bars anyway. Well, they take this and then they add more of them right in the front of the park. One of the first things you see that cool Portal of Passage scare zone. Right in that area is also the Siren's Last Call bar with scantily clad dancers.
I think they're sirens.
That would make sense. It is the Siren's Last Call. A new bar this year is the Carnival Curiosities. It has some light and sound effects over by the Pipeline roller coaster.
It sounded like a Haunted Mansion type recording.
It did. The Longshoreman Tavern is Flamecraft Bar, where you have the Longshoremen, which is like kind of their improv comedy actors. They're just hanging out in there. They're riffing with the guests. They're doing bits. And that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
They also have sports on in there. So if you're going to the event on a day when there's like a football game on and you want to catch some of that, you can watch that and get the shenanigans of the actors as well. By far my favorite of the bars is the Poison Grotto. Now this is the one by Infinity Falls, and it's really cool. They've got a live singer in there, and they've got an aerialist who performs right over the bar.
I could stay there for a long time just watching the aerialist. And I love how she is above the line for the bar. So she's directly above you.
And she kind of like her acts intertwine with like the singer. The singer will sing songs, and the aerialist will dance to them. And it's just really, really cool. That's top-notch stuff here. Don't miss that one.
Something I'd never seen before either at a haunt event.
No, I've only seen that at obviously it's been happening at Howl-O-Scream for a couple of years now, but I haven't seen it anywhere else. One final thing I wanted to mention, there is I love gimmicky stuff, and this is quite the gimmick. On the pathway, sort of by Sea Lion Stadium, they have a bar that sells a mystery shot. You get to spin the wheel and make the deal. It's like $11, and you get just some random shot. It could be like moonshine or vodka. I got lucky. I spun the wheel. I ended up with a really, really big pour of Woodford Reserve bourbon. And I am still feeling that shot today. That was a lot of bourbon. Oh, my. That it made the haunted houses more fun. And also some other stuff about Howl-O-Scream here. We were there for a media event, so we did get to sample some of the food. I like the zombie taco, which is like this weird, like kind of a thick bacon taco, which is good. I don't think I would spend $12 on it or whatever they were charging at Howl-O-Scream, but it was pretty solid. There's also a whole bunch of merchandise in the store. I really like the big giant keychain, done up like an old hotel keychain, and all the roller coasters are open.
And the shirt. You like the shirt at the merchandise that has all the list of all the places that have Howl-O-Scream, so all the cities.
Yeah, and then they've got one like you see like Horror Nights every year with all the houses written on the back. And then good thing about Howl-O-Scream also, most of the roller coasters are open. Icebreaker, Pipeline, Mako, and Manta. Kraken is not open for the event because that side of the park is not part of it. But that was cool. Got to walk on the Pipeline, which is always a fun time if you haven't been on that yet. And there we go. That'll do it for our chat about Howl-O-Scream 2023. Molly, what are some of your thoughts here as we wrap things up?
I definitely think the highlight of this event is the two shows, not the cursed Lagoon one, but the other two shows and the theme bars. They do that so well. And like I said, I could stay in that grotto for a long time watching the aerialist and listening to the singer. I am also impressed. It's a 5-hour event, I think. Yep. We had 4 hours to explore, and it took the entire time, and we even had to skip the line. So plenty to do here.
Yeah, I think for your value, the price on this event ranges between $49 and $65. And especially if you don't have a ticket to SeaWorld, like an annual pass or something like that, this is a pretty good deal because you get to ride all of those, 4 really good roller coasters, plus the bars and the shows and the haunt. Altogether, I think it's a pretty solid package there. And but I would say like nothing really stands so well on its own. Like it's just paying like $65 for 4 coasters or the 2 shows. But when you put everything together, it kind of works. I think if you are really looking for haunted houses, this might not be the event for you. That's definitely not the strength of the haunt event, which also, that's kind of what a lot of people go for.
It is great for starter. If you're beginning haunted houses, you're not sure. I think this event is good for if you've never been through a haunted house before.
And one thing about it, too, is it doesn't get the crowds that Halloween Horror Nights does down the road. Like, you're not going to see the 2-hour lines for a haunted house at Howl-O-Scream. Like, you will see some lines, but they're not going to be that kind of nuts.
And they do pulse the line, so there is smaller groups. It's not a giant conga line going through, which I like.
Oh, yeah, then you actually get the scares. It is a scarier event than I would say Halloween Horror Nights is, at least on the house level, because of that. All right, guys, if you've got any questions about Howl-O-Scream, let me know in the comments section below. And thank you very much for watching this video.